So when did you finally, when did you or he decide, let's go get a diagnosis, or something is so off that we now need to get this checked?
I just knew something wasn't right. Something wasn't right. I knew it was time that I needed to raise my hand.
The screen fades from black. A slow, haunting piano note lingers as images of Bruce Willis, the smiling action hero from Die Hard, the charming detective from Moonlighting, the beloved Hollywood figure, flash across the screen. The world knows him as John McClane, the wisecracking cop, the fearless action hero, the man who always found a way to win. But behind the Hollywood lights, behind the iconic smirk, Bruce Willis was facing an enemy he couldn't punch, couldn't outsmart, and couldn't escape.
To have the conversation with my father about, you can no longer drive. I'm taking the keys away.
Yeah.
And getting everybody else in the family to go along with that conversation, because they were like, no, well, he can just still drive to the barbershop, because my father owned a barbershop and it's just down the street, or he can go to I go, I'm not going to put myself in a position so that he hurts himself or hurts somebody else, and I have to have everybody else on board with it. But it was a very challenging conversation for something as simple as that.
In 2022, after decades of blockbuster films, Bruce Willis stepped away from acting. At first it was called aphasia, but soon after, the truth emerged: frontotemporal dementia, a cruel disease that strips away memory, language, and identity. And with that revelation, millions of fans around the world felt a collective heartbreak. But what the world didn't see was the battle being fought inside the Willis family, a wife torn between love and survival, a family making impossible decisions, and a man once larger than life now living in the shadows of a fading mind. Today, Emma Heming Willis, Bruce's wife, is breaking her silence. From the shock of diagnosis to the controversial choice of giving Bruce a separate home, to her confession of nearly walking away. This is the untold story of Bruce Willis's health battle and the woman who refused to give up on him. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is more than a Hollywood story. It's a story of love, sacrifice, and the brutal truth about what dementia does to families. Music swells. The screen fades to black. The screen fills with clips of Bruce Willis in his prime, running barefoot across broken glass in Die Hard, smiling beside Demi Moore in family photos, later walking red carpets with Emma Heming Willis. Narrator voiceover, steady but emotional. For decades, Bruce Willis wasn't just a movie star. He was a cultural icon. From his breakout role in Moonlighting to his reign as one of Hollywood's most bankable action heroes, he embodied strength, resilience.
And yet, as Emma recalls, when the doctors delivered the diagnosis, they offered almost nothing else. No roadmap, no support, no hope. She walked out of that room stunned, holding a piece of paper that would change her family's life forever. And this was only the beginning, because what followed was not just Bruce's decline, but Emma's transformation. From wife to caregiver, from partner to protector, and along the way, a shocking revelation that caring for Bruce could also destroy her. Soft piano fades into silence. A close-up of Emma, tears in her eyes, speaking in interviews about the loneliness and judgment caregivers face. Archival clips of paparazzi flashes, Bruce with fans on red carpets, fading into quieter, more recent photos of him with Emma and their daughters. When the world first heard Bruce Willis was retiring in 2022, the explanation was simple: aphasia, a communication disorder. Fans were heartbroken, but they hoped time would heal. But inside the Willis household, the truth was far heavier. The family soon learned it wasn't just aphasia. It was frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative disease that erodes personality, language, and independence. From that moment forward, everything changed. Emma Heming Willis stepped into a role she never asked for: full-time caregiver. She became the decision-maker, the protector, and the shield between Bruce and a world that still demanded answers. But caregiving, as Emma revealed, came with brutal realities. Doctors warned her, caregivers often die before the patients they serve. Their mortality rates, 63% higher than people their age. The weight of that truth hit her like a tidal wave. She realized she wasn't just fighting for Bruce's survival, she was fighting for her own. And then came the judgment. When Emma revealed that Bruce now lives in a separate home nearby, designed to keep him safe and supported, the internet erupted with criticism. Strangers accused her of abandonment. Headlines questioned her love, but Emma stood firm. "Each caregiving journey is our own," she said. "You have to do what is safest for your person and your family." Behind the noise, Bruce's family, Emma, their 2 young daughters, and Bruce's 3 adult daughters with Demi Moore, rallied together. A blended family, united by heartbreak, learning to navigate the most uncertain path of all. But even love couldn't shield Emma from the breaking point. The constant decisions, the crushing fatigue, the silence of a man who once filled her world with laughter. And in one of her most vulnerable admissions, Emma confessed something shocking. She had thought about leaving, walking away, escaping the pain. Because sometimes, even love doesn't feel like enough. Music builds, sharp and tense, before fading into stillness. Clips of social media headlines, tweets scrolling across the screen, judgmental voices overlapping as Emma's interviews play faintly in the background. When Emma Hemming Willis made the decision to give Bruce a separate home near the family's residence, she expected criticism. But nothing could prepare her for the storm that followed. Strangers, people who had never met Bruce, never lived inside the pain of dementia, attacked her online. How could she leave him? Isn't she supposed to be his wife? Doesn't she love him? The world that once adored Bruce as a hero now turned its judgment on Emma, branding her as the villain in her own love story. But behind the noise, the truth was far more complicated. Emma wasn't abandoning Bruce. She was protecting him. The separate home was designed for his safety, a structured, quiet environment, close enough for family visits, but calm enough to minimize confusion and risk. And while the internet tore her apart, Bruce's daughters, both from Demi Moore and from Emma, stood firmly by her side. A blended family, once tabloid fodder, now bonded by something greater than gossip, survival. Yet the escalation wasn't only public. Inside Emma's own mind, the war grew louder. Decision fatigue consumed her. Even simple choices, meals, schedules, appointments, felt like mountains. And then came the darkest truth of all. Emma realized she was disappearing. A neurologist warned her that caregivers often die before their loved ones. She was so consumed by Bruce's care that she forgot her own. She stopped making doctor's appointments. She stopped asking for help. She stopped living. "I didn't know I was allowed to ask for help," she admitted. That single confession revealed everything. The superhero mask she wore for her husband, her children, the world, was cracking. And beneath it stood a woman on the edge of collapse. Bruce's health was fading. Emma's strength was fading faster. And the question loomed over everything. How do you keep holding on when the person you love is slipping away? The music sharpens. The screen cuts to black. The screen slows. Soft, somber music plays. Images of Emma and Bruce at home, smiling with their daughters, flicker across the screen. The contrast between joy and pain is palpable. Behind closed doors, dementia is not glamorous. It is not cinematic. It is quiet, relentless, and cruel. Emma Hemming Willis has described the subtle signs that first crept into their lives. Bruce, once sharp, witty, always ready with a joke, began struggling with words. Sentences broke apart mid-thought. Familiar routines no longer made sense. The man who thrived in chaos on screen now faltered in the simplicity of daily life. And when the diagnosis came, it was delivered with clinical coldness. Aphasia. Then, frontotemporal dementia. But no guidebook, no therapy plan, no words of comfort. Just silence. "I walked out with nothing," Emma admitted. No hope, no direction, no roadmap. So she built one herself. Emma began studying caregiving, speaking with neurologists, bringing in specialists. Out of desperation grew the unexpected journey. Her book designed not only to share Bruce's story, but to give other caregivers something she never had. Practical tools, emotional honesty, and permission to ask for help. Because the truth is brutal. Caregivers are often invisible. They are expected to be strong, tireless, selfless. But studies show caregivers face staggering risks. Their mortality rates are 63% higher than others their age. 40% of them can't even make their own doctor's appointments. Emma learned this the hard way. She admits she stopped prioritizing herself, believing that asking for help was weakness. Only later did she realize that survival meant sharing the weight. And so, her family, Demi Moore, Bruce's ex-wife, and all 5 daughters, formed a unit of support. Together, they created a new rhythm. Simple living, slowed down days, quiet moments of laughter, even if fleeting. It's really beautiful, Emma said softly, just being in these moments that are so fleeting. But beneath that beauty is a haunting reality. Every fleeting moment could be the last. And every choice Emma makes carries the crushing pressure of finality. This is not the Hollywood ending fans imagined for Bruce Willis. But it is real. It is raw. And it is the truth of dementia. The music swells gently, leaving the viewer in silence. Clips of Bruce Willis's iconic films play in sequence. Die Hard, The Sixth Sense, Armageddon. Each cut shorter, faster, until they fade into still photos of Bruce today, surrounded by family. Narrator, voiceover, reflective but powerful. Bruce Willis is not just a man. He is an idea, an era, an entire chapter of Hollywood history. For millions, he represents resilience, rebellion, and charm, the everyman who became the hero. But his diagnosis has shaken fans, colleagues, and the entertainment industry to its core. Because dementia doesn't care about fame. It doesn't care about money. It doesn't care about legacy. In many ways, Bruce's struggle has forced Hollywood and the world to confront uncomfortable truths. Frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, affects tens of thousands every year, yet it remains misunderstood, underfunded, and underdiscussed. Bruce's retirement, his silence, and Emma's honesty have brought a spotlight to a disease too often hidden in the shadows. And beyond dementia, there's the conversation about caregiving. Emma's story echoes far beyond her own home. Millions of caregivers, mothers, daughters, husbands, sons, see themselves in her exhaustion, her guilt, her resilience. For them, Bruce Willis is no longer just an action hero. He is a mirror. His family story is their story. The backlash Emma faced also highlights another truth. Society loves heroes, but often misunderstands those who stand behind them. Caregivers are expected to endure judgment in silence. By breaking that silence, Emma is rewriting the narrative, showing that vulnerability is not weakness, but strength. And in a surprising twist, the Willis family, once a symbol of Hollywood glamour, divorce, and blended family tabloid drama, has become a symbol of unity. Demi Moore standing beside Emma. 5 daughters, different mothers, one family. It is a lesson in love, loyalty, and redefining what family can mean when life collapses around you. Bruce Willis may no longer command the big screen, but through his battle, he has sparked a bigger conversation about illness, identity, and what it truly means to stand by someone you love. The music grows, swelling with inspiration as clips of Bruce smiling with his children play softly. The screen fades to black. Slowly, a single spotlight reveals Bruce Willis on stage years ago, waving to a cheering crowd. His smile lingers as the sound dissolves into silence. Bruce Willis once said, "You can't undo the past, but you can face what's in front of you." Today, what's in front of him is not a new movie role, not another franchise, but a battle against time itself. Frontotemporal dementia has taken pieces of him, his words, his independence, his freedom. Yet what remains is powerful. A family united, a wife who refuses to give up, a story that now belongs not only to Hollywood, but to all of us. Emma Hemming Willis calls it the unexpected journey, a journey she never wanted, a journey no one asks for. But in sharing her pain, her honesty, and her strength, she has given millions of caregivers around the world something they desperately needed: hope, guidance, and a reminder that they are not alone. Yes, Bruce Willis, the action hero, the superstar, the man who once ran barefoot through broken glass, is fading from the screen. But his legacy has shifted, from larger-than-life roles to something far more human. Love, sacrifice, family, and perhaps, in the end, that is the greatest role he will ever play. So the next time you think of Bruce Willis, Don't just remember the explosions, the one-liners, the box office records. Remember this: the strength it takes to fight a battle you cannot win, and the love it takes to fight anyway. Because heroes don't only live on the screen. Sometimes, they live in the quiet moments, in the resilience of families, and in the final chapters no one ever sees. Music swells to a crescendo. Images of Bruce with his daughters, Emma, and Demi Moore flash across the screen. The final frame lingers on Bruce smiling, with the words, "For Bruce, for the caregivers, for the love that endures." If this story moved you, share it. Because somewhere out there, another caregiver is struggling in silence, and they need to know they are not alone. Fade to black.